We say all praises be to the Creator, all power to his people. In the name of Yahshua, the Black Revolutionary Messiah, I greet you, my brothers and sisters, in the spirit of truth and the words of peace. Shalom Aleichem. I want to welcome everybody tonight to another exciting edition of the Main Source Network, where you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. We have an exciting show scheduled for tonight. Looking forward to it. Now, you know, most of the times, I'm a researcher. And most of the times, I'm pulling books, I'm pulling quotes. I'm not doing that tonight because this is groundbreaking material. And to be honest with you, it's not really discussed, so it's not a whole lot of information available anyway, even if I would start pulling books. There's not a lot of information on the subject, so I'm looking forward to it. This is one for the history books. Tonight on the Main Source Network, my special guest is Brother Enisoto Ekunsirinde. And he's going to be talking about something that he came up with, an ingenious concept he came up with years ago called the old dog theory. Now, I know about the old dog theory. I've written about the old dog theory on allhiphop.com, but I'm going to let the brother talk about the old dog theory because no one can really put it precisely the way he could. So we're going to jump right into the show. Brother, are you on the line?
Peace, God. Peace.
Peace, brother. Honored to have you on the program, brother. I'm calling from Boston, and we're going to jump right into it, brother. Tell everybody, first introduce yourself to our listening audience, and then jump right into telling us what is this old dog theory.
Honored to be on the show. My name is Brother Enisoto Ekunsirinde, better known as Brother Enisoto GC, the God Coach. I'm here to, make your life better, re-Afrikanization coach, personal development, and long-time organizer and activist here in the Boston area. And the old dog theory, oh wow, something I thought about 10 years ago maybe. And
something like that.
And the old dog theory came about. Well, first, let me just say that for those that don't know, the old dog is a character played by Lorenzo Tate in the movie Menace to Society. This was one of my favorite movies coming up, and me and my friends would watch this like all the time. I've seen this movie about several thousand times. That amongst others, this was one of the movies we watched the most. And when we first watched it, I didn't see it in the theater. I seen it on VHS, prehistoric times. And when we watched it, we would go out and everyone would talk about it because it was a popular movie. But one thing that stood out in that movie to everybody was this character named Old Dog.
Mm-hmm.
And Old Dog was the co-star. He was the best friend of the main character, Kane. I can't think of the brother's name who played Kane, but he was the best friend, with the braids. And all I remember was everywhere I went, the ladies were saying Old Dog is cute. They wanted to braid his hair, and the fellas were saying Old Dog was crazy. He's loony. He's a real G, and things like that. And I'm like, okay, he was like the main character. But one thing that got me was in the movie there was a brother named Sharif.
Yeah, I remember that.
I can't think of the brother who played Sharif. He's a well-known actor. It'll come to me. Maybe it'll come to me as I continue to talk. But one thing I know about Sharif is he was the brother. He was a Muslim, but he was conscious. He was always trying to throw in some consciousness, and he would always be put on the back burner. I mean, they would just like straight out, this brother. And I always noticed that, even at that time when I was, as we would say, I was misguided. But that always caught my mind. But O-Dog was the favorite. Like, he was the hero. Like, if there was an action figure for O-Dog, it would sell out at this time. So the O-Dog theory is this notion with the African community to take on the worst example of a person as a hero. And the O-Dog theory is not only, it kind of, O-Dog theory is shown in other shows as well. I mean, you see a little bit of the O-Dog theory in the Boondocks. People aren't really paying too much attention to Huey. They're paying more attention to Riley.
To Riley, exactly.
Okay, Riley is the young loudmouth brother who thinks he's a thug, and again, like the girls like to say, he's so cute and he's bad. Oh my gosh, I want to do his hair. Here we go with that again. Huey is just the smart kid who everyone would wish would shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, of course, unless you are into the so-called conscious lifestyle, you may look at Huey as the hero, but for the most part, people aren't really paying him too much attention. Now, also the O-Dog theory, we can even go before the movie Menace to Society. We can even take it to hip-hop culture. And the O-Dog theory was even displayed with the coming of NWA. So when we talk about, the N-words with attitude, NWA came at a time when, consciousness was popular. And then even Dr. Dre even said it, and I quote, he said it in Vibe magazine that everyone's talking this Black Power stuff. Man, F that. And they started to go into saying the N-word a few times just to show what they're about. Suddenly, NWA became the heroes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then groups like Public Enemy, Public Enemy precisely got, they got destroyed, after the so-called controversy with Professor Griff making his remarks about the Jews, involvement in the slave trade. Suddenly PE gets destroyed, NWA gets put on the pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the thing with the O-Dog theory. The O-Dog theory was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. The O-Dog theory was pretty much a way to put the bad example on a pedestal for our young misguided warriors, to glorify.
That was deep, bro. But that could even go back deeper, though. Going back to earlier in our history, the Stagger Lee theory, so to speak. I know you're familiar with the character Stagger Lee.
Yes.
Stagger Lee was like the O-Dog of, grandma's age. That was the brother who didn't take no mess and used to carry a razor and would just cut you just as, what they say, would cut you just as soon as look at you. And that mentality, the crazy Negro or the crazy N-word, has really always been glorified in the black community because ideally, and help me with this, I've tied it in with the O-Dog theory. My feeling is that ideally, the idea of a crazy Negro was that it would take a crazy Negro to fight white supremacy or hit a white man. A sane Negro, a sane black man would never hit a white boy, for spitting on him, raping his sister, raping his mother, whatever. But it would take that Stagger Lee with all his faults, with all his craziness, it was glorified because that was the character who was just crazy enough to slap a white boy. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, I heard a lot about the Stagger Lee story, and I mean, let me see, it was based off of a real event that happened. Was it somewhere in Texas? And there was some big bar fight, and this man, killed the other guy, and then someone wrote a song about it, and then it became, a legend. That is, yeah, I would say that is true. And what you're talking about a sane black man will not, ever, do anything to an oppressor. That comes from the drapetomania disease that the slave masters like Samuel Cartwright used to diagnose the Africans with whenever they tried to escape or try to leave the plantation somehow and go into the maroon countries. They'll say you was diagnosed with drapetomania. You say you was crazy. You was suffering from some form of mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the old dog theory is this was a symbolic crowning of the criminal mindset. You see, at a time where, the righteous brother, who's trying to do the right thing was like on his way out, it appears like in the movie. Now, I'm not saying the Hughes brothers did this purposely. I'm not even going to get into the conspiracy theory thing, and they may not even realize this, but what it appears to have been is they were telling those of us who are righteous, not necessarily conscious, those of us who are righteous and want to try to bring peace to the community or do the right thing, they're saying, you're getting in the way of our money, you're getting in the way of our respect, and you are pretty much getting in the way of us having a good time.
And I think that's more importantly, you're getting in the way of us having a good time, especially in that movie.
Yeah, and they were saying, you either get out the way or you will be killed. And spoiler alert, in the movie, what happened to Sharif?
He got killed.
He got killed. Now, what happened to Old Dog?
He lived.
He lived.
He was the only survivor. Everybody else, well, no, not the only survivor, but out of
the only known survivor. And now, if you take the movie, to take the movie and just look at everything to do with this brother Sharif in the movie, Sharif tries to block Kane from getting the 40 ounce. Kane's first introduction to Sharif was, Sharif believes Allah can save the black race. Yeah, right. Okay, that was sarcasm. Another scene was, when Kane's cousin gets killed and Sharif wants to stay with him, and Old Dog pretty much chumps him into telling him that, the dude is dead, man. We got to keep it moving. So that made Old Dog appear to be the courageous one at that moment. Sharif wants to play a righteous rap tape, and I think the brother's name was Purnell in the car.
Right.
Purnell said that gets no play in this ride.
Now, I think he wanted to play a Farrakhan tape. Minister Farrakhan tape. I think it was a Minister Farrakhan speech he wanted to play, if I'm not mistaken.
Really? I thought, okay, well, even then, I mean, I thought it was like they weren't hearing it. And it seems like no one ever talks about Sharif's father, who started dropping knowledge on how the young black man is an endangered species. But they go right to Old Dog, blasting a crackhead.
And Carlos, we see you on the line. We're going to open up the phone lines in a few minutes, but I wanted to get the brother time enough to lay down the theory about Old Dog, but we do see you on the line. Go ahead, brother.
Peace. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, the thing about Old Dog, the difference between Old Dog and a Stagger Lee or even a High John the Conqueror, if you're familiar with High John the Conqueror.
Yes, sir.
Going back to our southern roots, Old Dog it seemed that Old Dog was a way to say, you conscious cats, y'all are on the back burner. We ain't following you. If you go the conscious route, you're going to get killed. But if you go the Old Dog route, the gangster route, you'll survive.
Well, let me be the hater right here. Let me be the Sharif hater.
Okay.
Now, I'm thinking about the movie because the movie came out, 1990? It was after Boys Military, so we're talking about 93, right?
93.
Yeah, it came out 93. Based on that character, and we're tying this in with the, I guess, secondary theme tonight, did conscious hip-hop fail that generation? That's the second point we want to deal with tonight as well, tying it all into the O-Dog theory. Could it have been, brother? Now, think about this one. Could it have been that the Sharif character wasn't going as hard as he should have gone? That he was still trying to fit in. And since he was trying to fit in, he didn't go as strong as he should have gone. What you think, bro?
Very good question. Well, that could be looked at in a couple of ways. Because remember, Sharif was also an ex-banger.
Right.
That might have been the only family he knew. So that might have been his job to try to save that family. And I think he was on his way. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. Wasn't Sharif moving? Wasn't he supposed to be leaving the country or leaving the area?
Yeah, I can't think so.
I can't quite
recall. It's been a minute. Yeah.
And I was trying to watch the movie today. I can't find it. I couldn't find it for the life of me. But, I do recall something about that movie where he was supposed to be leaving or doing something. I don't know. I think he was supposed to be going to Mecca. Was it Africa? I don't remember. But, see, that might have been the case, but, it seemed to me he was doing his best. I mean, if he was an ex-banger who just got out of prison, he's working with the best he can work with. So I wouldn't, that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
It's a very
because
interesting
you're still
point.
dealing with, and one of my theories is being the what did I say? I call that theory, everybody wants to be the cool kid. Everybody wants to be that cool kid in the high school cafeteria at the cool kid table. Nobody wants to be that smart kid in the back of the room with the books. So my theory has always been, and this goes back to conscious hip-hop, even though many of the artists were talking, the pro-black conscious stuff, uplift the people, just being in that environment with, the EPMDs and the NWAs getting the cheers. Some way, I think subconsciously, they still wanted to be the cool kids. So when it came time to speak out against Eazy-E, if I speak out against them, I won't be at the cool kid table anymore. I'll be at the Sharif table.
Yep. That's exactly it. That's also part of the O-Dog theory.
Yeah, and the compromise is, okay, I got 360 degrees of knowledge, but I'm going to only give 300 degrees. Because if I give the 360 degrees, which it's going to really take to change that situation, I'm going to be ostracized. I can't. It's almost like, brother, let me put it this way. It's almost like we are the conscious people. We're the antidote. And the doctor says, you got to take, in order to kill this mental side that's in you, you got to take 100 cc's of this medicine, of this truth. You got to take 100 cc's. So what we've been doing, we've been saying, okay, 100 cc's may be too uncomfortable. So I'm going to still give them this shot, but I'm only going to give 90 cc's. It's going to look like, and it's going to feel like, and if you look at the shot needle, it's almost going to look like 100 cc's. But I'm going to give them 90 cc's. It's going to look like the real thing, but if it's going to take 100, and I'm only giving them 90 cc's, at the end of the day, they still ain't cured. And that's the predicament that the conscious community and conscious hip-hop found itself. Steve Coakley once gave the example. The late researcher Steve Coakley talks about how people can be palliative, not curative. Can be palliative, but not curative, meaning it sounds good, and the rhetoric sounds good, the music sounds good, and it sounds like the real thing, but it's enough just to get you talking, but it's not enough to cure your condition. Your thoughts, bro?
Very deep, and I noticed a lot. I noticed a few that I know of. A few so-called conscious artists at that time started to go in that direction. Queen Latifah is one of them. I believe she had a song called "Get Off My D N-Word and Tell Your B to Come Here." I also noticed the level of righteousness just dwindling at that time. You know, everyone started going left. You know, let's take the great Tupac Shakur. Tupac, you know, as soon as he played that Bishop character in Juice, according to his people, he said he started changing. He started taking on the persona of this wild-eyed, you know, gangster. And Tupac started going in that direction. Tupac still was holding on to a little bit of that consciousness. He was just trying to be the rebellious type, and you know, it didn't work out in the end, unfortunately. You know, but yeah, that, you know, as far as being the cool kid, I think that is what happened. They found out that being a good kid with all the books isn't making any money. But being the bad kid sells a whole lot of records and makes a lot of money.
But you just brought in another direction. Tupac Shakur. You had the Sharif element and you had the O-Dog element. But people gravitated towards the O-Dog element of Tupac. You know, they wanted Bishop. You know, they wanted the banging, the, you know, go in on you. They didn't want the holler if you hit me. Now, Keep Your Head Up. You know, that was a good song. It was a feel-good song. You know, he could have gone that route, but I guess if you talk to, radio programmers, they would say since the gangster thing was hitting so hard, that would have been just like a fluke. You know, Tupac's more known for that death row swag. So even him, you know, maybe he was dealing with that whole, you know, if I try to be Sharif and give this truth, y'all ain't really going to hear me. But, you know, if I come with that gangbang thing, you know, and slip a little truth into it, maybe to reach somebody. But once again, you're dealing with palliative, but not curative.
It's very interesting because Tupac was supposed to play Sharif in Menace to Society.
That's right.
He wanted to play Old Dog, but, you know, they gave it to Lorenz Tate, and there was a big fight ensued over the situation that he didn't want to play Sharif because, in Tupac's words, there's no such thing as a Muslim gangster. The two don't mix. You know, therefore he did not want to play that character. You know, and but I think he wanted to play Old Dog, and they ended up giving him to Lorenz Tate. And Tupac said, if I'm gonna play a young N-word, I'm gonna be a real young N-word. So he always wanted to have that gangster element because he wanted to rep the streets. But it's something about the Juice character that just kind of steered him into that direction that he couldn't get out of.
Wow.
You know, so it's interesting that you say people didn't want the Sharif, they wanted the Old Dog. Well, interesting. He didn't want Sharif either.
Well, let's deal with this now. We're going to go to the phone lines in about 2 minutes, but I don't want to lose this point. Even when you just said that, I had to check myself, which usually happens when I talk to you. How do I know? Why did I make that statement that people wanted the O-Dog instead of Sharif? Or am I just parroting what other people say. You know the whole thing about if you give a person a glass of clean water next to a dirty water, they want the clean water.
Mm-hmm.
That's a universal truth. So even what I just came out of my mouth as someone who considers himself conscious, why did I assume that people wanted the gangster Tupac instead of the conscious Tupac? You see my point?
Why did you assume that people
coming
wanted...
out?
Hmm?
It sounded good coming out when I said it. Yeah, people want the gangster, but even what I just said reinforced a stereotype that African people want that. I gave no statistics. I gave no research. Only thing I was going by was the fact that the Zionists or whoever that control the music industry give us that as what people want. And even I, just by saying that, endorsed that fact without bringing any research. And no one ever does. You know, it's always, well, people don't want that. But in reality, brother, if you look at it, every time that people are given that, they go for that. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Look at Jadakiss. His biggest hit was what?
Either why or we going to make it.
Exactly. I would say why. The one that got the most radio spins, besides when he was first came out with Bad Boy with the Locks, was Why. Why came out of nowhere. Remember that? There was nothing on the radio at that time besides maybe a Common joint, but Why came out of nowhere, and people gravitated towards that, which means that maybe it's a falsehood. Maybe every time somebody or DJ or whoever makes that statement that said, oh, this is what the people want, maybe we need to say, where's your research? And I don't mean that little short Jewish program director, 80-year-old program director telling you what to play. I mean, what are the people on the street saying? Because I'm going to be honest with you, brother, being out there on the streets, other than talking about what Griff's talking about, the Illuminati, other than that reference, you mentioned Jay-Z to those kids on the street now, they be like, who? We ain't listening to Jay-Z. And that's real talk. You know, you assume because the media is saying, okay, everybody loves Jay-Z, you think all these young kids, they ain't listening to Jay-Z. They saying he too old.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just, you know, random thoughts, brother. So we're going to open up the phone lines, brother. Is that okay with you? Take a couple of calls?
Fine with me. Yes.
All right.
Calls.
First call, area code 404. Area code 404. Shalom alaikum. Area code 404. You have a comment? Okay, area code 404 might just be listening, going once, going twice. Area code 404. Okay. Area code 508. 580. Area code 580. Shalom alaikum.
Halito, this is Angela Millette.
Peace, sister. How are you?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Honored to hear your voice. One of my militant-minded sisters. Honored to have you call into the program, sister.
Yeah. I apologize because I came in late, and so I didn't get to hear the front piece of the discussion. So I think I'm going to withhold my comments just for a little bit.
Okay, sister.
Because I'm trying to catch up.
Okay, we're going to open all the lines in a couple of minutes. So, but honored to have you joining us tonight. So hit this button. And area code 219. Area code 219. Shalom. Area code 219. Going once. Going twice. Okay, area code 219 must just be listening as well.
No, I'm here. I'm trying to talk. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. Peace, brother.
Oh, peace,
brother
man. How you
Quabner.
feel?
Peace. I'm well, brother Quabner. Peace.
Peace, Brother Quabner.
Peace, man. Got in a little late also, but from what I've been hearing so far, you guys are on point.
Thank you, bro.
Just, you're welcome. You're welcome, man. Just talking about what we want to hear. I did like that. That's what they tell us a lot of times when we battle these radio conglomerates pushing this poison on our people. They always say that's what the people want to hear and all that, but they force it on us. It's been a while. This has been a while. They give us one song, maybe two at a time, that have any consciousness to them. That's like for the last 20 years now, almost since the end of the golden age. But now, they'll be, maybe Crooked Smile will be on. But other than that, they don't really, I can't even think of any song, maybe one that they played consistently over the last 9 months, other than Crooked Smile.
Lil Boozy. Lil Boozy. I mean, brother, relatively speaking. Relatively speaking, though. I mean, it's not the perfect song, but, it's almost sad that's the only other example you can give, though.
I don't know. I had kind of talked to, somebody posted something about a long article. Rebel Diaz went out to Ferguson, and a nice little long article about hip-hop and the Ferguson issues and stuff, and he talked about Lil Boozy, and we think about T.I. and all these reactionary slap-hop artists making these songs about Mike Brown and the situation in Ferguson. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather him, even though Young Slug has a no-fly zone for him in St. Louis, in Kansas City, and in Chicago, but I'd rather they say what he said, because it blurs the line. It's like saying, okay, no, Darren Wilson, you can't kill our people. We'll take care of that ourselves. When they do it, we'll do it ourselves. So they just need to shut the hell up and just stay out of it. And that's what we got to be more organized. Oh, y'all want to do what? No, stay away from us. You weren't on that before. I don't know. And you look at what's going on with Snoop apologizing to this to me, non-talented Australian European on the song that she has out. I forgot what Snoop said to her, but he apologized to her because of T.I. called him up. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
I did. I heard a little bit about that. He was making fun of her at the BET Hip Hop Awards or something like that.
Or something like that, yeah. So they go at it, I guess, via Twitter or whatever, and he apologizes to her. And
we can hit on that for a minute, brothers, because thanks for bringing that up. That was real interesting. That, and this is the controversy that's been going across the internet. I read a couple of articles, a couple of posts. They're saying that Snoop Dogg has disrespected black women since 1992 or before. Now, all of a sudden he says one thing against the white chick, and he apologizes. Wow. And, people are feeling some kind of way about that. Like, how can you... I remember he came out that year at the MTV Awards as sisters with dog chains around their neck. Mm-hmm. Y'all remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, apologize to them. Apologize to our sisters for doing that.
Yeah, but, he gets one phone call from T.I., and all of a sudden, okay, he apologizes. So, yeah. But that goes through, back to what we were talking about. Did we... yes, sir.
No, well, go ahead, Brother Finch, because I wanted to make another comment about T.I.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, T.I. is on this song with, I think the brother's name is Doe B. Doe something, but he got murdered last year, at the end of last year, right around Christmas time, in Montgomery, Alabama. 21-year-old young brother made this ignorant song about If I Find Out. Now, even the title of the song tells you it's a violent song. Mm-hmm. So we know T.I. is 30-something, and he's on there with Juicy J, and Juicy J talks about your wife, not his wife, but your wife is in the bed with him with his testicles in her mouth. And all sorts of violent and vulgar stuff in the song. So this dude gets shot up in a club in Montgomery, and also a 20-year-old college student gets shot up too. Sister got killed. So T.I. apologized to them. Apologized to Doe B's mama for putting that young brother on this label, which you pushing that poison, that fratricidal poison. So, they're so hypocritical sometimes. And I know we talk about not so much getting on the artists so much, and we know if they get rid of one, they'll find another. But at the same time, I don't think they should just be getting passes for this poison that they push.
I agree.
Definitely.
All right, brother, we're going to have, I'm going to open up all the lines in about 5 minutes or so. So hold tight, brother. I'm going to open up all the lines, and we're going to have a round table for the last part of the show. But brother Adika.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk solutions.
Yes, sir.
I want to throw this out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there should be some kind of coaching, or I would say even a hip-hop rites of passage program for these young brothers? Because let me make this point. I know I'm all over the place, but let me make this point. My contention is, vibe with me on this, is that even during the conscious era, people make the conscious hip-hop era seem like it was this great period, lasted all these years. I've always said the conscious period of hip-hop was from 1988 to 1992. 88 to 92, 4 years, which isn't a bad run, because if you look at the height of the new Black Panther, not the new Black Panther, but if you look at the height of the Black Panther Party, the original Black Panther Party, they reached their height, it was about a 4-year period. If you look at Marcus Garvey, you're still looking at really a 4-year period when they really were, at their zenith, a 4-year period. So conscious hip-hop was no different. You're still looking at a 4-year period. But even within that 4-year period, my contention is less than half that time was it really focused on educating young black kids, especially young black kids in the hood. I would say after 1989, you began to see, with the rise of Yo MTV Raps, you began to see conscious hip-hop being less about waking up the mentally dead black folks and more about being goodwill ambassadors to white middle-class America. Their main target was not the hood. Their main target was Biff and Buffy at Yale and Harvard instead of Tyrone and Tashika in the hood. So being that, so my contention is maybe they weren't taught. Maybe the old dogs of 1993, maybe that generation that really brought the whole gangster thing into the mainstream, maybe they weren't taught. We assume they were exposed to, the conscious hip-hop. But conscious hip-hop, for after that 1.5, 2 year period, it wasn't targeted to black kids. It was targeted to white kids, trying to show white kids that, we're people too, we demand rights, we're just like you. So did we miss an entire generation? Are we still missing that entire generation as far as being proactive? If we did miss that, what can we do about it, bro? Floor is yours.
Okay, well, first, let me say this in regards to hip-hop at that particular time. And in 1989, as far as, I'll put it this way, a young African child was able to turn on the television. You was able to turn on Rap City or Yo MTV Raps, and you were able to learn about what the red, black, and green flag is, who Malcolm X is, why the black man is God, why the black woman is earth in regards to the 5% ideology. You had all these schools of thoughts being put on the television and on the radio. I mean, even me, I didn't learn about the red, black, and green until I listened to the Jungle Brothers.
Okay.
I mean, that's just real talk. Now, as far as them coming in the community, I mean, that's another thing. All I know is at that particular time, I seen a lot of medallions. I seen a lot of talk about Africa. You know, Stetsasonic had a song called "Speak About the Motherland," naming all the countries of Africa.
Right.
You know, that was so that was. You know, kids were on the blog. I mean, and the gangbangers at that time, a lot of them were dropping the knowledge too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, they still, had their, little riff-raps, but they were educating. The X-Hats were out.
Right.
I mean, it was just like the blessing is it was an educational process. The curse was it became too trendy. Our culture became too trendy.
Right.
You know, and I think that was also part of our demise. Now, going back to hip-hop rites of passage, yes, that's a wonderful idea. You know, and I think the Universal Zulu Nation or even the Temple of Hip-Hop or maybe a new, African-centered hip-hop organization must be formed to start that rites of passage for young MCs and young artists coming up. There needs to be a place for sisters like Saw Rock to go. You know, Saw Rock's a sister out of, is she out of Atlanta?
I think so.
Okay, she's out of Atlanta. Real, heard her music, she got some good stuff. Real conscious, real African-centered, she dropped some gems. I mean, not bad. Not bad. But, I mean, there needs to be some form of rites of passage that's going to
I'm not even
teach these young
about
MCs.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Saw Rocks. I'm talking about the Young Thugs and the Lil Boozies and the Rich Homie Quans.
Or young MC, well, of course, young MCs are young MCs. Like, teach them, first what hip-hop culture is. Teach them first what African culture is. Teach them their heritage. Then teach them what hip-hop culture is and why it's important.
Because,
what it is you need to be doing as an MC.
We assume that they know, but who taught them?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what the rites of passage will teach them.
Okay. Well, so, okay, brother, if it's okay with you, for the last 15 minutes, we're going to open up all the lines. So if anybody wants to participate, just announce who you are and just come on with your comment for the last 15 minutes. But I think, brother, that is, so any comments, just chime in.
I'm going to find out, get more on your premise that the conscious hip-hop after 89 went more towards the Biffs and all that. I'm trying to follow that because, I mean, I've been into it all that time, and I don't know, I'm just trying to follow that.
Yeah, I'm getting into the whole idea, I guess the Harold Cruz, crisis of the Negro intellectual type ideology, whereby when white people get involved in a process, when it becomes mainstream, it's just so black it can get without losing the white audience. They don't really care about Africa. X-Clan really never, X-Clan has some white audience, but as far as the mainstream, they never really crossed over to the white audience to that level because, white kids ain't trying to really hear, about Africa that deep. Now, you can be talking about F the police and gangster stuff and, you can do, talk about stuff that appeals to them and their rebellious nature. But, it's just so much my philosophy that a white kid's going to listen to. So that was my point. It's almost like the clothing during that era. You had it's almost like at one point hip-hop was FUBU, for us, by us, with the accent on for us. Then it became cross colors. You know what I'm saying? And when it became cross colors, it became universal and for everybody. So,
I don't think the artists themselves, I don't know, from what I was trying to, I don't think because the rest of the development, what they didn't get out till, 90? Or was it 89? Whatever year, I don't think they're okay, we're trying to do this to appeal to white folks. I mean, I got an example when I started working, got out of college and started working. This young white dude was talking about how he loved hip-hop, but like you said, he didn't like X-Clan. I don't like X-Clan. I remember telling me that. He didn't like them, so he liked hip-hop. So I feel you on that end, but because they were a little too strong for in terms of talking about Africa. And also I wanted to say, you know, the era, the golden age, ended around 92, around that time, but this conscious hip-hop has not stopped. There's so much of it still being put out and made. It's just like we all know, it's just not being played, not being pushed. But there are brothers and sisters who are still making, you mentioned Surat, still making beautiful, strong music and not disrespecting their people and their parents and their ancestors, and we love them for that. But it's just tough because even knowing it ain't going to get played on mainstream radio, they still refuse to sell the people out.
Yeah, and that's really what I was talking about, the mainstream aspect of it. You can probably only count on your hand the conscious artists that have been around since 1994. I mean, Goody Mob, I guess you can count, you know, Andre 3000 in them. But Common, of course.
Well. Can we just let's kind of like define what we're talking about as conscious? Because I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Mob may have been good. You know, they may have said said good things, or an X-Clan like has good music, but are they conscious?
Yes. Yeah, I would say X-Clan. Yeah. Goody Mob.
Not X-Clan. I'm talking about like Goody Mob, Outkast. You know. Could they be defined as conscious or just, you know, just a dope hip-hop group?
Now that's
they made some conscious songs, but yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't say totally that Goody Mob and the Dungeon Family crew but compared to the rest of that crap in Atlanta, yeah, they're conscious, but I wouldn't. Yeah, they made some conscious songs, and they are aware. Most of them are aware of what they should be doing. But I even look at Common's new album. I mean, I was like so disappointed. I mean, but then I look at it and see what he came out from Def Jam. They probably just held him back. I'm like, man, dude, you got some good beats, some good flows, but the consciousness level is like, okay, I'm going to just keep it ignorant to a certain extent. Like, man, why? They're not playing you anyway. You know better.
That goes back to the old dog theory.
May I say something?
Yes, Queen.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm listening to what you're saying about hip hop camps, rites of passage. I like all those ideas, consciousness camps, that kind of thing where young people can get in touch with or have available, you know, psychologists to talk to them about conditions that our people have gone through, certain topics, cultural pride. And this kind of thing doesn't even exist for young sports stars. I'm just even thinking about, it's just making me vibe all over the place about this. But it's what our people are missing, which is why they keep making the same mistakes, you know, jumping out there and beating their women, or they're abusing people, just doing all kinds of things. Nobody is really putting these people together with the forum or the venue that will help them through these things. They're just throwing money at these kids, and they're not really helping them. I had a young guy, well, two of them actually, want me to listen to some of their rap music. Now, I'm not a rapper, but I do know what sounds good. And I was going to try to guide them to somebody I knew who had a studio. And anyway, I wanted to listen to their stuff. And everything on it was just curse, 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 curse. And when it finished, I said, who's your audience? And what radio station do you think is going to play this? Because everybody on radio is having to put a clean version of whatever they're doing on the radio for play. And so if you're just giving people this cursing stuff, who do you think is going to produce it, number one? And how do you think you're going to get paid? You know, because you're limiting who can listen to your music. So my point in saying that is, excuse me, my voice is very messed up from speaking, but I think all these kids need to be in a boot camp, in some kind of camp, a hip-hop camp. I like this hip-hop rites of passage that I'm hearing. But that's just my point for right now.
Thank you.
And that
Thank
was
you,
an excellent point, Adika.
Yes, very, very, very excellent point. Well, with the hip-hop rites of passage thing, I actually think that it should go beyond hip-hop. You know, there needs to be an African rites of passage in every family and community. Mm-hmm. Once that gets going, we can get the hip-hop rites of passage thing going. See, this has to be a part of our culture. It has to be a part of who we are. The same way everyone prays over their food, there needs to be a rites of passage for our children in the household. There needs to be a time where, you know, the brothers in the family take the young sons somewhere, teach them about manhood, and the sisters in the family take the daughters, teach them about womanhood. This needs to be a thing that we do on the regular. And once we start doing it on the regular, once it becomes a reality in our community, once again, you know, the hip-hop rites of passage thing will work.
Well, you know, we used to do that. We used to do that as young people, like my parents and the people we grew up around. We had success advocates. You know, people that made sure, you know, knew how to show up on a job interview and how you were going to dress and what's inappropriate and different things like that. And so we are missing a lot of that. Our kids are. And I was just thinking about Dr. Dre, even though, you know, he's not among my favorite people in the world. But what he's doing is kind of what should be done by the people in your venue, which is, you know, hooking together with some kind of course or a program that will guide people to be successful in a certain area. And that's really, I think, what you all are talking about also.
Well, you know, going back to the piece about the young brothers who made the song they wanted you to listen to, and there was all this cursing in it.
Yes. Yes.
We just need to understand that currently on commercial radio right now that targets African youth, that's pretty much what it is. And if you look at the multi-million-dollar contract offered to Chief Keef a couple of years ago by Jimmy Iovine, and you look at the same thing that happened in summer with Bobby X.H. Murder and his song Hot In, that's the same thing happened with that being paid for and being played, so much so it was even on Tonight Show the other night at 10:30 at night about murdering African people. And so if the custom stuff, they see it and hear it on the radio, so they figured, okay, I can make the same thing and make money because people are, not people, the powers that be wants them to push that poison during this psych out campaign they got on our people right now. So they do pay for that. They do pay for that. And I agree with you all wholeheartedly about this rites of passage program for hip-hop and other ones that they're existing all over. I think we're not doing them as much as we should and used to do. But it's so cyclical because who's going to mentor them? Who's going to do them? And so many of our people get inundated with this garbage slop hop for years now, and it's to the point now where it's at a tipping point because it's just so bad right now. So it's a problem that we need a lot more warriors in there working on it with us. But that code of culture we have to get with Chairman Fred about that code of culture. I may have it somewhere too, Truth Minutes. I got to find it. So that code of culture that they did several years ago was dynamite. You've got to find it and get it back out there and update it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I got to holler at Chairman Fred about that as well because that's an excellent idea. But, you know, I've always gotten criticism about being too critical of hip-hop. And one of the criticisms I've gotten is, well, why didn't you reach out to, and this is going back 10, 15 years ago, why didn't you try to talk to them first? Why didn't you try to give them guidance? You know, but this was before Facebook, before Twitter, before YouTube. And my thing was, okay, it's not like I have their home phone number. I can just pick up and say, okay, that was foul, what you did, we need to talk. But now with Twitter and with Facebook, it's easier to reach out to a young thug or it's easier to reach out to a little boozy. And I can bear witness, and I'm going to let a little trade secret out to those those listening, if you get on Twitter like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and they're online, they will respond to you because they're in the club, they're bored, or they might be waiting on a late night flight or whatever, and they're checking their phone and they have nothing better to do. Their handlers have gone to bed, the industry people have gone to bed. It's just them, you, and Twitter. And I've had some interesting conversations with hip-hop artists on Twitter. So there is a possibility now with Vine, with YouTube, with all this technology to do a rites of passage program even over the internet, even if it's just sending them YouTube clips of some of our master teachers. Just sending them a link to a YouTube video. Brother, when you're in the club, when you're waiting to get in the club, when you're in your limo, or when you're waiting in the airport or on the airplane now, pop this video in and listen to it, on your downtime when you're bored. Pop this in, see what you think. So that possibility is there. But brothers and sisters, this has been a very powerful show. And I'm looking forward to putting this on podcast, just blasting it out so those who weren't able to listen to it live can always listen to Main Source Network on the podcast. And we're on every Sunday night live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I want to thank everybody for listening. But I'm going to give the closing words to Brother Adika. And brother, if you could give the closing words and your contact information, we'd appreciate it.
Peace. Thank you for having me. Shout out to everyone. Brother Quabbin, keep up the good work. You do a good job out there with those radio shows. Well, I'm going to close with this. I have a usual slogan. What I say is, my art is the way, Sankofa is the key, Re-Africanization is the goal, and as far as building these rites of passage, it can start small. Me and a brother up here are planning on doing an after-school program. He has a little space, and there's a housing complex, and we're just going to open it up, and we're going to probably do it like maybe once a month, and just have the youth come in. We're going to teach them something about our culture and our heritage. Don't have to be anything fancy. Let's just do something. Something is always 100% better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And please feel free to check me out on Facebook. Type in The God Coach. Like my page. If you want inspiration, wisdom and encouragement, like the page. I try to keep it up every single day with some inspiring quote from myself and others. And so like me on Facebook at The God Coach. And
how about Twitter?
Again, follow me on Twitter at The God Coach. And glad to be on the show. Thank you, Mr. Paul Scott, my big brother, my coach, and the myth and the legend. Appreciate you for having me.
Stop, bro. I appreciate you. And I want to thank everybody for listening tonight, and for Main Source Network, on the Main Source Network, where you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And we're going to end with the closing of the Messianic African nation. Although we have been victimized, yet we are a strong African people, and in the fullness of time, in the Creator's will, we shall rise again. As I leave you, my brothers and sisters, in the words of peace. Shalom Aleichem.